Hey, welcome back to part 2. Had me a little snack, and now we are ready to knock the rest of this out and get these teacher graded questions done. So we went over several of these in class today, so some of this should probably be familiar to you, but I wanted to go ahead and do all of them again just to be sure that we're all on the same page. And in case anybody needed to see it one more time. I am going to put my calculator right here because we're going to talk about make sure everybody knows how to put things in there and make sure we know what we're doing with that. I got ink on the pen. Okay, so it wants to know, this is an octagon. Octagon in itself ought to tell you that it's going to have it's got 8 sides. It's divided into equal parts. How do you express the shaded area as? Well, the shaded area as a fraction. So let's do the shaded area first, but the easiest thing, and if you're unsure, let's number these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 total pieces. So we're going to put our 8 there. Now remember, we're going to move away from drawing our fractions. Drawing our fractions, I didn't mean to do that, with a diagonal. We're going to get more accustomed to drawing them with that horizontal fraction bar. That's going to serve you so much better as we get into algebra and as we move on into the other things that we're going to be doing. Now we want to look at how many are shaded of those 8. So of the 8 shaded, the number shaded, let's number those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5/8 of that shaded. Now, some of y'all are really overthinking this. Some of you I don't know what you were doing, but I told you when we took this to make sure you used your calculator. So we're going to now take this 5/8 and we're going to our calculator, and we're going to put it in the calculator. So I'm going to use my N over D button, which is right there. It gives me my fraction, and I put my numerator in. 5, down arrow, 8, arrow to the right, and hit enter, and it still gives me 5/8. And I want it as a decimal. Well, I simply have to take and mash this button right here. This button right here is our conversion key, and it changes that fraction to a decimal. So we have 0.625. Now we want that 0.625 as a percent. To change that to a percent, we're simply going to do times 100. 0.625 times 100 is 62.5%. And even though that decimal is there, we're not going to round it. We're going to do 62.5%. That is still a percent. It's just a percent with a decimal. It's a decimal percent. So this is the decimal, the true decimal, the decimal. This is a percent. That percent could be rounded to 63%, but this, I want you to leave it just as a decimal like that. But you do need to know that it could be rounded in case just in case my brain just died. Just in case answer choices were to have it rounded. So if you had answer choices that were rounded. So on here, we are going to look at this checkbook register. And why do I feel like I've done this in a video already? I'm having a major deja vu, or I'm going to get through and realize that I've already made this video. But $32. So we've got our beginning balance. Our beginning balance is 0. We have $0. We're going to take that $0 we get paid. We're going to go from our $0 to here. So we're going $32.18. That $32.18 has to be written right here as our new balance. Okay? Then we'll take that $32.18. So I've got $32.18. and I'm going to spend $4.30. So $32.18 minus the $4.30 that I'm spending at the Circle K on Takis. All right, that leaves, so that when I do that, I get $27.88. That $27.88 is my new balance until I get a paycheck from doing some more yard work somewhere. So I take that $27.88 and I put my $39 that I get paid and 42 cents with it, plus $27.88. And I have $67.30 now as my new balance. And that's my balance until I have to pay my cell phone bill. This is my balance until I pay my cell phone bill. Then I have to take this $67.30 and take out my cell phone bill of $54.13. And my new balance is $13.17. That account balance is $13.17. And now we want the average mean for the transactions. We want the average mean for these debits and credits. And so to get the average mean for the debits and credits, we've got to take all of these and add them up. I'm going to change up my color here. So we're taking these debits and credits that are right here, the debits and credits. Here they are. We're going to add them up. So I'm going to take my calculator and I'm going to do 32.18 plus a negative $4.30 plus $39.42 plus a negative $54.13. Oops, I think I did that wrong. 32.18 plus negative 430 plus 39.42 plus a negative 54.13. And I get, look at there, what did I get? I got this total was $13.17. So the 13, either way you look at it, if you're doing it as a balance or if you're doing this, but then it wants the average or the mean, which means I had to add those up. And then to find the average, I have to divide those. You're going to add and then divide by the number of things you have. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 transactions. So I'm going to divide that by 4. And we have $3.32. We're going to talk about the rounding. 32925. All right. I need that to look like money. So I'm going to go 2 decimal places. Take that 2. We got to look at that 2. We're looking the 9. This 2 is a weak number. It cannot touch the 9. So it's $3.29. And that is the average mean of the transactions. That's the average. All right. Oh, on this one, wow. You really have to make sure you're reading these questions. Okay? We talked about that already today, but reading the questions is absolutely critical because the question says using a check mark or an X. Not and, or. So, we're looking for the one that is 3 sets of -6. The other thing you need to make sure you're kind of paying close attention to are these intervals down here on the number line. The number line is being numbered by 2s. So be real careful when you're counting these intervals that you realize that you're counting by 2s and not by 1s. But we want 3 sets of -6. So that's going to be 3 to the left. If we want -6, we're going to be going left. So that would be this one. The opposite of 3 sets of -6, well, if this is the 3 sets of -6, then this would be the opposite. The opposite of 3 sets of -6 is going to be 3 sets of +6. And I think I told you when we were doing the review for this assessment to write that because the opposite of 3 sets of -6 is or because. So 3 sets of negative 6 is 3 sets of positive 6. And this is what you would be looking for on the number line. The opposite of 3 sets of 6 is 3 sets of negative 6. And this is what you would be looking for on the number line, which is here. This is written as 3 groups or sets of 6, of positive 6. 3 sets of positive 6. This is 3 sets of negative 6. This is the opposite of three sets of 6, which is 3 sets of negative 6. So we're looking for 3 sets of negative 6, which would be this. This is going to be the opposite of 3 sets of negative 6, which is 3 sets of positive 6. So that would be there. Writing these statements out like that is going to be your best bet. Writing them out is, and when you have the opposite, making sure you tell yourself, okay, the opposite of this is what? Because anytime we talk about opposites, we always say is, the opposite of white is black. The opposite of up is down. The opposite of red is blue. So we always have that is statement at the end. We don't just leave it the opposite of. So if we have the opposite of 3 sets of 6 is 3 sets of negative 6. Use that is statement, that is in the fill in the blank statement, so that you can kind of get your head wrapped around exactly what you're looking for. All right. Okay, on these, we're going to have to KCO these before we do anything else. We've got to KCO these in order to be able to look down here. They got to be KCO'd first. So we're going to keep this one, 5. Change this to addition. Make this the opposite. 5 plus 8, which is C. Right here, we're going to do the opposite. Oops. Oh, no, we're not. We're going to keep the 5. Change this to a plus. Negative 8. This is 5 plus negative 8, which is A. This is negative 5 plus a positive 8. And this is negative 5 plus a negative 8. Now, one of the big things that I saw when I graded these was, some of you remembered that you have to KCO these. We're going to be KCOing these, but when you started KCOing, you took the opposite of the first term too. The first, it is keep the first, change the minus to a plus, the opposite of second. You keep the first, then you change the minus to a plus, and it's the opposite of the second. All right? All righty. Let's give y'all a minute to get that. And the values for S and T are shown on the number line. So we want to know what is the point value of S. Well, here's S. Today we went through a long discussion in every classroom about what these benchmark things are. these benchmark places on the number line, these benchmark fractional benchmarks. So this is 1/2. This is negative 1/2 right here. This is positive 1/2. This is Z right here is at positive 1 and 1/2 because it's halfway between 1 and 2. S is at negative 1 and 1/2. So S right here is at negative 1 and 1/2. T is right here. It's halfway between 2 and 3, so it is at negative 2.5. Now it wants to know which point on the number line represents the sum of S and T. So S is negative 1 and 1/2 plus T was 2 and 1/2. And when you put that in the calculator, you're going to get an answer of 1. Now, some of you left that as 1, and I gave you credit for it, but that is not the answer to the question. Look at the question, and that is one thing that we have got to start being more conscientious of. Which point? Which point? And the point that is at 1 is right there. It's Y. Y is actually the answer. Y is the answer, but some of you put Y is equal to 1, and that was okay too. But putting just 1 really doesn't answer the question. Okay? Well, here's another numbered line. And today, I did this with one class. I don't think I did it with everybody, but I drew us another line down here. Okay? I drew us another line down here, and I labeled my 0 and said, okay, this line right here is divided into tenths. This is 1/10 right there. This is 2/10. And I need it in fifths. I need it divided into fifths. So I've got to split that tenth. I got to get it into fifths. And the way I'm going to do that is if I take those tenths and instead of 1 hash mark being a tenth, I'm going to take 2 hash marks and make them a fifth. So what do I mean by that? Well, look. If I do this, and I'm going to draw a line all the way down like this so you can see. And I'm going to do that all the way. I just want you to see what I've got here now. Look, now I've got 1/5 right here, 2 fifths, 3 fifths, 4 fifths, and if I draw one more, I'm at 5 fifths, which is 1, which is exactly where that is. So, let's keep going. We're going to go over 2, draw our line, 2, draw our line, draw our line, draw our line. This is how they're going to be assessed in that fractional knowledge that's part of our standard. So we're looking for 1 3/5. So we got to come right here to 1 and pick it up. And then here's my fifths. Here are my fifths. Let me get a couple. Well, here's a red one. So this would be 1/5. This would be 2 fifths. This would be 3 fifths, 4 fifths. And we need 1 3/5. This is 1. This right here would be 1 1/5. This would be 1 2 fifths. And here's 1 3/5 right here. 1 3/5 right there. And if you notice, here's 1. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the tenths. That's 1 6/10. 1 6/10 is equal to 1 3/5. Some of you counted and put it right there at that 5/10, but 5/10 is 1/2. That's actually 1 1/2 right there. So then we want to come on this side and do the same thing. So we've got, this is negative 1 1/5, negative 1 2/5, negative 1 3/5. So negative 1 3/5 is right there. So this would be A, this would be B. And then if you take negative, well, let's do 1 1/5 plus a negative 1 1/5, 1 1/5, a negative 1 1/5. That just looks wonky, don't it? Let me scratch that out and start over. I gotta get my erasable pens. 1 1/5 plus a negative 1 1/5, and we get 0. Because we are adding opposites, when you add, oops, there it is, I'm sorry. 1 1/5 plus the negative 1 1/5 is 0. This is the additive inverse property. It's the additive inverse property because we are adding opposites. When you add opposites, you are always going to end up with a sum of 0. All right, number 20. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to grab me a number line because we did this on the number line this afternoon, and that's when we realized Miss Bosworth's Q was wrong. So, because of that, I'm going to be giving you points back on this one. Actually, I'm giving you the whole question. I'm going to add these points for this question back to your grade. And that should help some of you out a little bit. I'm going to be working on that shortly, as soon as this video starts processing. So, a football team lost 9 yards. So, we're going to just say we started at 0. We start at 0, we lose 9 yards. There's play number 1. Then we gain 9 yards. So now we're going to come up here and gain 9 yards. What is the expression? What is the expression? A lot of you didn't write the expression. If you did not have negative 9 plus 9 on your paper somewhere for this part of the question, I counted it wrong. Of course, I'm giving it back to you, but I won't be giving it back to you on the test tomorrow. How many yards is the football team from where it started? 0. We're right back where we started. Okay, we're right back where we started. So now it says, suppose that instead the football team had gained 9 yards. So we're going to gain 9 yards. And then lose 9 yards. What would the team's position on the field have been any different? And the answer there is no, it would not. I don't know what I did on my original key. I know what I did. I just don't know why I did it. But anyway, I did 9 yards, and then came back. I don't know. They didn't go but twice. They gained 9 yards and lost 9 yards. They would not change their position. They are back at 0. And a lot of you had that. A lot of you had that. And because, and again, I don't know what I was doing, what I was thinking, but I'm also not too proud to say when I'm wrong. And somebody came to me this afternoon, they were like, can we take another look at this? And when we looked at it, I said, you know what? You're right and I'm wrong. So don't ever hesitate to just say, Miss Bosworth, can we take a second look at this? I just would appreciate it if you would not be rude about it. Be kind. Because I do a lot of times have things coming at me from every direction and I may make a mistake. So that we're just going to be, we're going to extend grace. Why or why not? Why? Because they're back at 0. Because they gained and lost the same number of yards. They gained and lost the same number of yards, so we're right back where we started. Okay, I'm over there having, I'm telling y'all, I am having a massive deja vu, or I have done this already and it is in my drafts, and I am going to have 2 videos of these teacher graded questions. But my brain is telling me I've already worked all these problems, and I feel like I'm saying the same things. All right, match the expression. This is our division. Now, if you remember with our division, this is what y'all seem to struggle with the most. With division, this first term right here, it's going to tell you your range. And our range here is going to be from 0 to positive 15. So we're looking for arrows that fall between 0 and positive 15. Well, here's 0, and here's positive 15. That's positive 15 and 0. This is 0 and negative 15. And this is negative 15 and 0. So the range on this one is 0 to positive 15. On this one, it's 0 to 15. On this one, it's 0 to negative 15. And on this one, it's 0 to negative 15. So these two can't be this one. For number 1, right here, we're looking at A or C. This number tells us the number in the groups. And because this is a positive 5, the arrows will be going right. The arrows are going to be going right or up. So I'm looking for a range of 0 to positive 15 with arrows going that way, to the right. And the only option there is this one, A. A, because it's got a range of 0 to positive 15. And the arrows are pointing to the right. The arrow's pointing to the right. All right, right here, we've got a range of 0 to positive 15. Now we're still going to have 5 in each group, and this is going to tell me that the arrows are going to be left. So right here, I'm going to put range, 0 to 15, arrows left. And of course, that one could only be C. Over here, now when you've got the negative sitting on the outside, you have an additional step. We're going to put our parentheses around it like that, because we've got to take the opposite of everything. So this is going to actually be negative 15 and 5 and negative 5. Negative 15 and negative 5. So now my range is 0 to negative 15. I'm still going to have, these are my groups, 5 in each group pointing left. My arrow should be pointing left. So 0 to negative 15 pointing left, B. Put your parentheses around it like that. Get your negatives, which are going to be positive 15 and a positive 5. I'm sorry, negative 15 and positive 5. Negative 15 and positive 5 means that I have a range from 0 to negative 15. I'm going to have 5 in each group, and my arrow will be pointing right. And of course, D shows that 0 to -15, errors pointing right. And that is it. That is it. That is it. That is it. That is your cumulative formative that is very close to your test. Now, I am going to be putting some keys in Google Classroom in a few minutes. I'm going to be loading Google Classroom up. It's fixing to have review stuff, study materials, keys for you to check stuff. Some of this will be coming as we work through the units from now on, but right here at the start, it's just been kind of sporadic, you know, been kind of crazy. But from this point on, we will be building Google Classroom as we go through our units. So go back through this. I will take questions tomorrow prior to the test. I will upload this to Google Classroom as well for you to look at. And let me know if you need me. Let me know if you have any questions. See you in the morning.